Let's speak now to Bronwen Maddox, Director of the Institute for Government, who joins me live from central London. Thanks very much for being with us. We heard from Tom some of the political fallout, the argy-bargy, the horse trading that would have to happen. But let's try and just pull this back to the process, perhaps, because if we take as a starting point a possible vote of no confidence in Boris Johnson, what are the possible flow charts, as it were, the lines that could be followed from there?
Well, if there's a vote of no confidence, obviously he could win it. But if he loses it, then we're into various scenarios, one of which Jeremy Corbyn is saying, look, I could form an alternative government and take over in that time and then call a general election, having asked for an extension. Alternatively, Boris Johnson might say, look, I don't recognise that alternative government. I'm simply going to call a general election myself on a timetable of my own, which indeed could be after October 31st. So there's different routes in there, and the Fixed Term Parliaments Act is not clear about exactly how an alternative government would have to demonstrate that it had the confidence of the House of Commons, particularly if it was, as Jeremy Corbyn is describing, a sort of a very rudimentary government formed just for the purpose of an extension and a general election. But so you've got two rival views of what could happen there.
Yes, and you mentioned he's spoken about a strictly time-limited temporary government. Is there any I'm struggling for the word. Is that something that we've ever seen before? I mean, is this something that he is putting forward as a very novel idea?
Well, he seems to be, but I mean, the fact is that every government is time-limited and temporary. We're not an autocracy, not yet. So it's a bit of a slippery phrase, it seems to me, and not one that is going to reassure potential coalition partners. It doesn't say how long. It doesn't say how long an extension he'd ask for. It doesn't say what powers he would have as this temporary prime minister, or what powers his coalition partners would have. So it's really quite vague. If he'd said, within 3 weeks or something, and I will ask for an extension of this length. So I think it's too open-ended a phrase on its own to give an awful lot of reassurance. But you can see what he's getting at. The fact is, though, as we've said, as we've heard this morning, while some parties like Plaid Cymru have welcomed the attempt to build consensus, others like the Lib Dems have said, we really don't want this. We don't want Jeremy Corbyn even as a temporary prime minister. And I think I must say that this is a bit of a distraction. It's an honourable cause, if you like, trying to make sure that Britain doesn't leave the EU over the period of an election campaign, so that people don't have the chance to express, voters don't have the chance to express what they think of leaving. But it does it in it puts this enormous mountain of trying to assemble a political consensus for this thing, and I think MPs would do better to try to do what they're doing at the moment, rather painstakingly try and see if they can get hold of the business of the House of Commons to get control of it, to try and force the government to ask for an extension.
Indeed. OK, Bronwen Maddox there, we must leave it, but thank you very much indeed.